Oi, 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 YouTube. It is great to see you. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Look, today we're diving into the 6.4.0 developer update. This update is not out yet, but will be out, I assume, probably next Tuesday, next Wednesday, somewhere around there. But there's a lot of good stuff in here, so we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it and talk about all of it. So we're going to start off with bots and custom matches. Effectively, what they go over here is that as a killer in a custom lobby, you can now play customs, or you will now be able to play customs against survivors. Now, the survivor bots will not have access to all perks and all loadouts and all things like this, but if you are brand new to the game and you're like, I want to play killer, but it's stressful, you can hop in and you can at least learn the very basics of killer and get an understanding for how to move, how to swing, things like that, how to find survivors. Now, I will say there is a stark difference between playing against bots and playing in an actual round of Dead by Daylight as your MMR starts to go up and things like that. And that's why over on our Twitch page, we have killer boot camps where almost once a week right now, you guys can play killer in a Kill Your Friends. I will be in a Discord call with you. We'll go over strategies. I'll give you tips. I'll give you encouragement. And it's in that safe Kill Your Friends environment. The community is lovely. I'm very excited to continue doing those. So, but bot lobbies are coming soon. You cannot play against a bot killer as of now because the AI does have to be trained to play as each individual killer. It's a little bit different. So this isn't the end of this particular update with regards to bots and things like that, but they will let us know in the future. But that's a big deal. So if you're newer to the game, you could play killer against bots. They did go over some visual improvements, which includes the breakable walls here, and the pallets have changed again visually. I think this kind of just makes the wood fall in line with the rest of the wood textures on the maps. Breakable walls did look a little goofy because they never got a visual update, so that exists. And the killer basement's getting an update because while all the maps got huge overhauls, most of the basements never got much of a visual overhaul, and the basement still kind of has that weird crushed glow, and it doesn't make sense. So these basements look very cool. I'm very excited for this. I think this is much more aesthetically in line. So very neat. I think the basement's kind of one of the coolest parts of DBD, even if it doesn't get used a lot. Now moving on, we do have flashlight adjustments. Now they talked about recently they made it so you can't quick click the flashlight, right? There is a bit of a delay in how many times you can click it. So and this was due to like epilepsy concerns, which makes sense, completely valid. But they are doing two more things to Dead by Daylight right now, and this is kind of a W and kind of an L. So locker blind immunity. We've run into this several times where if one survivor hops into a locker and the killer pulls them out, another survivor could flashlight blind the killer who's pulling someone out of the locker, and lather, rinse, repeat. Now, most of you have not experienced it. Most of you have seen it in a clip compilation. Maybe it's happened to you once or twice. It's not common because a lot of survivors, really, they sort of don't know how to do this. And the ones that do are usually so good at the game that this is how they have their fun. So it just does not happen very often. I'll be really honest with you. It's happened to me probably a handful, 5-6 times maybe. But they are making it so you cannot blind the killer while they're grabbing someone out of the locker. I'm a little bit up and down on this. I think these kinds of plays can be very, very fun. I think that there maybe is a more unique solution to this. Maybe I don't know that solution. But I mean, for most killers, 90% of the community, I think this is a big W. I think this forces survivors to play like a more regular match. Now, you could argue that survivors just like doing gens and playing a regular match is very boring, and I could see that point as well. The next thing they talk about is a flashlight save buffer. Now, we all know flashlight saves have a very perfect timing to them, right? Most of you don't really understand the timing, or a lot of people don't understand the timing. If you blind the killer, but it's too soon and the killer can't move yet, the blind doesn't force them to drop. Now, blinding a killer, they have to be moving for them to drop. So what you're trying to do with the flashlight save is blind them right as they start to move, and then it forces them to drop, right? So the timing is really tight. Unfortunately, what Dead by Daylight, what Behavior is doing is making it so that there's a bit of a buffer. So that they say to address this, we're adding a short 0.25 second, so a quarter of a second, literally, buffer to the end of a killer's pickup animation. If they're blinded during this window, they'll be stunned. So what they're doing is making it so it sounds like the killer's pickup animation, it's forcing them to stand there for a quarter of a second longer, just allowing you to get that blind. So it's made flashlight saves easier. Now I know it's really easy for us to jump out of our skin and freak out about this. I know people are going to say, I'm running Lightborn on every... Here's... At the end of the day, as a killer, you should be trying to prevent someone from flashlight saving. You should down somebody and then fake the pickup and go hit the person who has the flashlight. Something of that nature. You should be facing walls. You should be facing rocks. You should be facing objects and obstacles that obviously prevent someone from getting a blind. Is that always possible? No, but... I think we need to be realistic. A quarter of a second, there are going to be survivors that still completely botch this timing or very regularly. They do it way too late, or they do it still way too early. I don't think this makes flashlight saves like broken or so easy or OP. Again, you have to remember that flashlights require one survivor to like run around behind you and hope that they can get a save. You know, it's not, they're not that strong of an item. So I really want to caution us to be realistic about this. I don't think this is that big of a deal. I think making flashlight saves is weird because I think making them easier is a little bit weird. To be entirely honest, I think making them easier doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know why, but whatever. I don't think this is like the end of the world. I think Twitter is imploding as it does. I think a quarter of a second, I think people are still going to mess it up regularly. And as a killer, you should still be trying to prevent them as much as possible. And that shouldn't be terribly difficult given the roster of killers that can do that pretty easily. So now the big thing I want to move on to is matchmaking improvements. There was a lot of conversation when SBMM or MMR came out. Remember that MMR is the hidden value that matches you with other people, not your rank. Not I'm Eerie 1. Why am I with an Ash 2? That's not your matchmaking. All right. Now, when it comes to MMR, the discussion was that it was a 1v1v1v1, right? It was the killer versus each survivor. For the killer's MMR to go up, they had to kill 3 survivors or more, right? Because they kill one survivor and they kill one survivor, their MMR goes up twice. But if 2 survivors escape, their MMR goes down twice, right? Does that make sense? For the survivor, the only thing that made your MMR go up was surviving. It didn't matter how you got there. If you died, your MMR went down. End of discussion. Well, now they're changing it so that they say we're introducing team-based ratings to remedy this. Your rating will adjust based on not only your own performance, but the team's performance as well. Sacrificing yourself to save the team won't be nearly as punishing. This indicates to me that you may still get punished, but if 3 people make it out but you die, maybe you don't get punished at all. Maybe it's a net neutral. I don't know. The language here is very finicky, and I think they need to further define this a little bit. However, as we've come to realize, if they further define this, I think that puts them up for more ridicule. But I think the important takeaway here is that being a team player, team play is weighted now, which is important, an important adjustment to an SBMM system. And then extended breaks. If you're coming back from not playing for a long time, your matchmaking is going to decay a little bit. Your MMR is not going to be where it was because you're not that good or that with it anymore. Now we want to talk about cheating real quick, and I want to address this. Is like I've seen far fewer cheaters over the past few weeks, like far less, both like Twitter clips and like cheating in general in my matches. So here's a list of things that were changed if you guys didn't know recently. They say here's a list of just some of the exploits we've prevented. Prevented cheaters from hooking themselves, prevented generators from being instantly popped, prevented cheaters from starting a match with 2 killers, prevented cheaters from stacking duplicate perks and add-ons, prevented extended flashlight blind durations. I know I've had like 4-minute flashlight stuns, reduced maximum length of matches to prevent extraordinarily long matches, added countermeasures to force the match to end after the endgame collapse, added countermeasures to prevent player sniping, fixed an issue that could allow cheaters to crash the game. So this is a big deal. All of these things I think contribute to the fact, like anytime I used to get cheating matches, it was bing, 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 5 gens, and then everybody would escape, and I was like, oh, what a match. I've had a pig load into my game while I'm playing Pyramid Head. I've had all kinds of, killers or survivors hooking themselves after endgame collapse and just holding a game hostage. I haven't experienced any of that in the past few weeks. Now, most of us don't experience cheaters, so this could just be correlation, not causation, but I do think that they've done a lot of preventative measures here, and I think that's definitely worth noting. Now, of course, cheaters and hackers are always going to try to break and work around game code and do all kinds of things. I don't know if these are going to remain effective for a long duration, but it's worth mentioning and noting. And then temporary bans. Now, temporary bans are not something we see very often in Dead by Daylight, but they say temporary bans are used for minor infractions such as griefing, harassment, and unsportsmanlike conduct. These are separate from matchmaking bans acquired from disconnecting from a match. To better discourage toxic behavior, we're increasing the duration of our temporary bans across the board. So the first strike, instead of 48 hours, it is 48 hours instead of 24. The second strike will get you 1 week of being banned. The third strike is a month of ban. The fourth strike is a permanent ban, which is how it's always been. Now, I think a lot of people might fearmonger and kind of freak out and be like, oh my god, somebody could report me even though they played bad. No, if you haven't been had a strike before, the odds of you having a strike aren't gonna suddenly increase now. I think these things require video evidence, they require reports, they require proof, they require repetitious behaviors, right? Just because so 3 survivors go down while they swarm a hook, they can't report me and I'm not going to get in any trouble, because that's happened 1,000 times and I've never been reported yet. So I think let's be cautious about how we talk about this. If you've been banned for this, the odds are you maybe deserve the ban, but I can't say that with absolute certainty. So what do you guys think of the changes? We have bots, we have MMR improvements, we have flashlight changes, visual overhauls, and then temporary bans, and cheating, of course. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, we have some of those killer boot camp matches coming to YouTube. Let me know if you guys are excited for that. Let me know if you want those to be edited or if you just want to see the raw killer boot camp matches. I'm excited either way. And of course, I'll be praying to the entity to see you guys in the next video.